Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into the mysteries of the past, exploring ancient artifacts that might be, wait for it, ancient technology. Did the ancients possess knowledge far beyond what we give them credit for? Were they masters of technology that we are only just beginning to understand? Get ready for a wild ride through history as we explore these incredible artifacts and the possibility that they hold the key to unlocking a forgotten technological past. Are you ready? The Golden Mummy. A golden mummy, life size statues, a tomb hidden for millennia. This isn't a movie, it's a real life discovery in Egypt. At the bottom of a pit, hidden for thousands of years beneath the desert sands, something unbelievable has been uncovered. Come with me as I unwrap one of Egypt's newest and most intriguing mysteries. Spoiler alert, it is not a new pyramid scheme. It might just be the oldest mummy of its kind. 4,300 years ago, a man named Hekashepes was wrapped in gold and buried more than 50 feet below ground. He was at the bottom of a vertical shaft, his golden body stuffed into a limestone sarcophagus, and now archaeologists have found him in the shadow of the legendary step pyramids of Saqqara. The excavation team didn't just find Hekashepes, they also uncovered a spectacular array of life-size statues, almost like replicas of human beings. Each one was intricately carved to resemble servants, men, women, and entire families. These beautiful statues are proof that the Egyptians had some incredible crafting technologies. I mean, the statues are extremely lifelike. You would think some creepy humanoid AI company was behind their creation. The tombs mostly date to the 5th and 6th dynasties. Experts are hoping they provide crucial insights into the lives of Egypt's ancient elite. This discovery kind of reminds people of the terracotta soldiers, and that was a huge discovery. In the meantime, we're all left marveling at the golden Hekashepes. Wrapped in shimmering gold leaf, his remains stunned researchers due to their exceptional preservation. Famous Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, who led the dig, confirmed that while inscriptions were missing from the statues, the burial shaft itself tells an important story about the significance of the tomb. In other words, even though no one knows exactly who Hekashepes was, he was clearly important. Important enough to be covered in gold and buried with an assortment of perfectly carved statues to accompany him in the afterlife. The Saqqara site holds many more mysteries. It's a key part of the vast necropolis of Memphis, which houses not only the famous Giza pyramids, but also lesser-known pyramids at Abu Sir, Dashur, and Abu Ruwaysh. Saqqara is only a few miles away, making the whole place one of the biggest graveyards in the world. But wait, there's more! Amazingly, I've only told you about half of this awesome discovery. Archaeologists found Hekashepes in his own shaft, but there was a secondary shaft, and it contained more tombs. And you know what I always say, more tombs, more mysteries, and more dust. One of the tombs belonged to Kunumjadef, an inspector of officials, noble supervisor, and priest in the pyramid complex of Unas. His tomb, decorated with detailed scenes of daily life, provides a rare window into ancient Egyptian customs and rituals. By looking at all of this artwork, we can see what Egyptians did in their daily life. Another tomb was for Mary, a man revered as the keeper of secrets and an assistant to the palace's highest officials. In a society where written language was considered a divine gift, Mary would have held an unparalleled position of power and trust, overseeing the pharaoh's most important records. And there was a lot more treasure where these guys came from. Amulets, wooden statues, stone vessels, an effigy of Ptah Sokar, the god of resurrection, symbolizing rebirth and protection in the afterlife. Every tomb, every artifact, and every golden mummy is more proof that the Egyptians were geniuses. Their understanding of engineering, shipbuilding, and astronomy was extremely impressive, but they never mastered nanotechnology, did they? The civilization who did is coming up next. Ancient nanotech. Move over, Harry Potter. The Romans had their own brand of magic, and it involved tiny particles of gold, silver, and a whole lot of wine. The Romans had access to even more technology than we can imagine, but in typical Roman fashion, they used their tech for hedonism rather than scientific progress. For example, the Lycurgus cup, one of the most astonishing artifacts from ancient Rome. It's a dazzling example of artistry and science merging in ways that continue to puzzle researchers today. But this 1600-year-old chalice isn't just a stunning piece of craftsmanship, it's also evidence that the Romans were experimenting with nanotechnology long before modern science even coined the term. It's a wine cup that changes colors. Because why have a regular wine glass when you can have a magical one? At first glance, the Lycurgus cup appears to be a rich, opaque green. But when light shines through it, the entire cup glows a striking translucent red. This effect baffled scientists for decades, until the 1990s, when researchers finally uncovered the secret behind this ancient marvel. The cup is made of dichroic glass, a term derived from Greek meaning two-colored. The Romans achieved this mesmerizing transformation by incorporating minute quantities of gold and silver nanoparticles into the glass. These particles interact with light in ways that shift its color depending on the viewer's perspective. Some particles are as small as 20 nanometers. For those not up to date on your nano measurements, that's less than 1,000th the size of a grain of table salt, basically invisible to the naked eye, but capable of some seriously impressive color-changing shenanigans. Modern scientists now understand that this effect is caused by plasmon resonance, a phenomenon that occurs when light interacts with electrons and metal nanoparticles. This shifts the wavelengths of light, creating the dramatic color change. It makes sense that modern scientists understand the effect, but how did the Romans know? How did 4th century artisans manage to grind gold and silver into such small particles? What kinds of tools and knowledge did they possess to infuse these elements into glass with such precision? The best guess is that Romans didn't understand nanotechnology at all, but simply knew about material science. They didn't understand what they were doing, but they knew how to do it. If that makes sense to you, you're my kind of people. It's kind of like how you know fire is hot, even if you don't know what the molecules in the fire are doing. And you know how to use the internet, but no one knows how the internet works. This chalice tells a dramatic mythological tale. The cup depicts the punishment of King Lycurgus of Thrace, a ruler who defied the god Dionysus, the deity of wine, revelry, and chaos. You should not make him mad. In the myth, Lycurgus bans the Dionysian cult, enraging the god. Dionysus and his followers, including the nymph Ambrosia, take revenge. Ambrosia transforms into a vine that entangles the king. The Lycurgus cup captures this very moment. On the cup, Dionysus, along with Pan and a satyr, watch as Lycurgus struggles against the inescapable vines. Some scholars speculate that the cup's red hue symbolizes Dionysus's wine, while its green tones reflect the entangling vines that led to the king's downfall. That's a pretty deep symbolism. Do you think the Romans knew what they were doing by making this magical cup? Let me know in the comments. And now for a quick break because it's shout out time. I want to give a big thank you to Nadine Partridge and Andrew Baldwin for supporting this channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm glad you liked the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. Ancient nuclear blast? Did an ancient race of beings drop nukes on one of our oldest human civilizations? Don't answer yet. What's been found in the ruins of an ancient city might hold secrets so mind-blowing they could shake up everything we know about human civilization, or at least everything we think we know. Welcome to Mohenjo-Daro, where archaeology meets science fiction and the lines get blurry. Mohenjo-Daro was a Bronze Age metropolis that would put modern cities to shame. Picture bustling streets, organized neighborhoods, a grid system of roads, a state-of-the-art drainage system, luxury spas, basically everything you could ever want in a clean city. Only this was 4,500 years ago. Mohenjo-Daro was the original Rome, with a towering citadel from which the city's guardians looked over the multi-story homes and vast temples. The city belonged to the Indus Valley civilization, who had somehow gotten their hands on an early edition of SimCity. The crown jewel of Mohenjo-Daro was the Great Bath, a massive public water tank. It was likely used for religious rituals, community bonding, and some well-earned relaxation after a long day of trading goods and writing indecipherable texts. Then, in the blink of an eye, it was gone. Mohenjo-daro didn't just slowly fade into obscurity, it met a sudden, catastrophic end. And that's where things get weird. It was a Bronze Age Hiroshima. If you ever visit the ruins of Mohenjo-daro, prepare for some goosebumps. The destroyed city has eerie similarities to modern nuclear disaster sites. Apparently, you can feel the charge in the air. David Davenport is a researcher who spent 12 years obsessing over this mystery. In his book, Atomic Destruction in 2000 BC, he makes some jaw-dropping claims. David says that pottery and bricks in the city were melted into glass, as if exposed to the extreme heat of a nuclear explosion. Skeletons were scattered across the city, eerily preserved like what happened in Pompeii. A layer of radioactive ash was reportedly found at the site, too. Now, you explain to me how radioactive ash shows up at a site that is more than 4,000 years old. I'll be looking for your theories in the comments. David is only one of many scientists interested in uncovering the truth of ancient nuclear war. Soviet scientist A. Gorbovsky claimed in the 1960s that some of the skeletal remains had radiation levels 50 times higher than normal. It does seem that India and Pakistan were the epicenter of what may have been the most technologically advanced civilization prior to the 20th century. But to confirm that ancient weapons of mass destruction existed, we have to get mythical. Hindu mythology describes weapons so intense they make modern nukes look like firecrackers. Ever heard of the Brahmastra? This ancient doomsday weapon was said to cause a great disturbance in the universe, with the lightning, thunder, and a great shaft of light as bright as 1,000 suns. It reads like an ancient eyewitness account of an atomic explosion. Even creepier is that the texts describe lingering radiation effects. The victims of this universe-shaking weapon had their hair and nails fall out. Local water sources were contaminated. Warriors dove into rivers to try and escape the raging heat. Are these just poetic exaggerations, or could they be distorted memories of a long-lost technological disaster? But wait, I'm not done yet. Let's talk about the chilling connection between Mohenjo-daro and J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. After witnessing the first nuclear test, he famously quoted the Hindu Bhagavad Gita by saying, "Now I am death, the destroyer of worlds." Did Oppenheimer recognize something ancient in the terrifying power he had unleashed? Oppenheimer was deeply fascinated by Hindu philosophy, and his engagement with these texts shaped his moral reflections on nuclear warfare. Did Oppenheimer know that he was bringing back a technology that already annihilated human civilization almost 5,000 years ago? Let me know your thoughts. Weirdly sophisticated dentists. Think ancient technology was all about grand monuments? Think again. The Maya were masters of something far more personal: oral hygiene. A recent study has revealed that the Maya weren't just masters of architecture and astronomy. They also had a surprisingly advanced approach to dentistry that has left scientists astounded. If there's one thing the Maya loved more than carving jaguars, it was bedazzling their teeth. Long before Europeans started adorning their mouths with gold, and long before Washington sported wooden teeth, the Maya were flashing dazzling smiles studded with jade, turquoise, gold, jet, and hematite gemstones. The Maya were giving each other blinged-out smiles that would make any rapper jealous. What's even more fascinating is that his practice wasn't just for the elite. Maya dentistry was accessible to everyone. Rich or poor, men, women, they didn't have to go into debt for their dentist bill. Archaeologists suspected that jeweled teeth were for aesthetic appeal and spiritual satisfaction. They could symbolize status or power, or it could be used as means of religious protection. But how did they do it? A team of scientists from the US and Mexico recently analyzed ancient Maya teeth and discovered a ridiculously strong dental cement. It may seem like a small thing, but anyone who has ever had a fake tooth fall out knows the importance of good mouth cement. Even after more than 1,000 years, the adhesives used to secure gemstones in teeth are still intact. It's an amazing testament to the Mayas' advanced chemistry knowledge. But get this, the dental cement also contained substances that fought tooth decay, reduced inflammation, and prevented infections. I don't think most modern dental cement even does that. Scientists found that the Maya used pine tar compounds with antibacterial properties, along with plant extracts that had antifungal and anti-inflammatory effects. One such substance was sclereolide, a plant compound used for its antibacterial and pleasant fragrance. It's still used today in perfumes. Mayan dentists were also precision drillers without any fancy power tools. They were so skilled that they could drill holes into teeth without touching the nerve pulp, an impressive feat even by today's standards with today's technology. The new study examined teeth from 3 Mayan archaeological sites in Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras, and none of the individuals belonged to the ruling class, but their dental work rivaled modern techniques. I don't know what to be more impressed by, the free dental care or the skill of the Maya dentists. Or maybe I should be more impressed by the fact that the Maya willingly took great care of their teeth, unlike some people I know. They regularly cleaned and polished their teeth and promptly removed decayed teeth before infections could spread. My favorite example of good Maya teeth is Janab Pakal, the powerful Maya ruler who died in 683 AD at the age of 80. When researchers examined his remains, they found that he still had almost all of his teeth perfectly intact. That shows you just how effective Mayan dental practices truly were. Next time you're at the dentist, drop some of this Maya knowledge to impress your dental hygienist. The wishing stone of the ancients. How would you like to own a rock so powerful it grants wishes, sort of like a stony genie? It sounds too good to be true, but the ultimate artifact might be out there somewhere. The Sintamani stone is said to bestow divine wisdom upon anyone who finds it. This mystical gem appears in both Hindu and Buddhist traditions. Some even claim it's the Eastern equivalent of the Philosopher's Stone, that legendary gem rumored to turn base metals into gold and grant immortality. Gimme, gimme, gimme! The Sintamani stone is deeply embedded in religious lore. In Hinduism, the stone is often linked to Vishnu and Ganesha, while in Buddhism, it's associated with the gods that are way too difficult to pronounce, but they were basically beings on the path to enlightenment. But is this legendary stone real, or just another case of ancient mythology meeting wishful thinking? The stone has been depicted in various ways throughout history. In Hindu mythology, Vishnu's jewel, the Kaustuba, is seen as a sign of divine authority. Another reference is the Sayamanta jewel, which is said to bring prosperity to its owner. These are all jewels with different names, but they are believed to be examples of the one mighty Sintamani stone. The legends make it seem like the stone may have been a piece of technology that gave the gods their powers. Buddhists believe that reciting the Dharani of Sintamani, a sacred hymn, grants enlightenment and wisdom. It's kind of like downloading the latest spiritual upgrade for your soul. No buffering required. The stone also appears on Tibetan prayer flags, carried on the back of the mythical wind horse, Lung Ta. According to ancient texts, the Sintamani stone was an actual wish-fulfilling jewel that fell from the sky during the reign of the Tibetan king La Thathori Nyansen. Some have suggested the stone was a real alien artifact that landed on Earth and granted those who claimed it unique cosmic knowledge. Great, but where's the proof? Well, there isn't any. Some researchers speculate the stone could have been made of moldavite, a green grass-like mineral formed from meteor impacts around 15 million years ago. Moldavite is revered in crystal healing circles as a stone of transformation and spiritual acceleration. Interestingly, the legendary emerald tablet, associated with alchemy and the Philosopher's Stone, is also thought to be made of moldavite. Coincidence? Sure, maybe. Or maybe ancient people knew something that we don't. No mystical artifact is complete without a legendary hidden city attached to it. There is a myth that says Shambhala, a utopian kingdom said to be tucked away in the Himalayas, is home to enlightened beings who protect the Sintamani stone. One person obsessed with finding this relic was Nicholas Roerich, a Russian artist and occultist. In the 1920s, Roerich claimed to have obtained a piece of the Sintamani stone and set out to find Shambhala. Some say he received the fragment from the League of Nations after peace negotiations failed following World War I. Nicholas never did find Shambhala, but he was convinced it was somewhere in the snows of the Himalayas. Other rumors claim King Solomon owned the stone, and Alexander the Great, and the Mughal Emperor Akbar. The most notorious out-of-place artifact ever. Forget diamonds. This hammer is forever. A simple metal hammer has caused more commotion than seems possible. This seemingly ordinary artifact is touted as proof of a pre-flood society that thrived in the days before Noah and his ark. But is it really magical, or is it just a boring old hammer? On a sunny day in June 1934 or 36, history is a little fuzzy here, Max Hahn and his wife Emma were out for a casual hike along Red Creek near London, Texas. Not London, England. Then, out of nowhere, they stumbled upon something weird. Sticking out of a rock was a piece of wood. Curious, they took it home. The chunk of wood and rock stayed in their home until 1947, when their son cracked it open like an egg. Instead of a Kinder Surprise, out tumbled an iron hammer with a wooden handle. It wouldn't have been a very big shock if not for the fact that the hammer was trapped in rock said to be hundreds of millions of years old. In 1983, Carl Bow, a well-known creationist, got his hands on the artifact. He nicknamed it the London Hammer and said it dated to the days of Noah and his ark. Then, a 1985 report suggested that the rock encasing the hammer could be 400 to 500 million years old. Okay, now you can gasp. If true, this would mean that humans were building tools before dinosaurs even RSVP'd to Earth's party. This crusty old hammer could be proof of time travel, of lost worlds, who knows? Let's get down to specifics. The London Hammer measures about 6 inches long with a 1-inch diameter. It's 96.6% iron, 2.6% chlorine, and 0.74% sulfur. It also hasn't rusted in over 60 years. Could this be evidence of advanced metallurgy from a long-lost civilization, or just really, really lucky preservation? Skeptics argue that minerals can form around modern objects, making them look way older than they truly are. This natural process could have fooled amateur geologists into thinking the hammer was ancient, when it was really just a lost tool from the early settlers of Texas. Where do you stand? Ancient relic or really weird geological anomaly? This should not exist. There are some pipes in China that could date back 150,000 years. This discovery doesn't make any sense. This would mean that a civilization from before the last ice age left behind a plumbing system that has fossilized itself in stone. Just like the London Hammer, experts are torn over whether the Baigong pipes are a natural phenomenon or proof that history is not what it seems. Archaeologists have uncovered a plumbing system buried in the rock that dates to 150,000 years ago. Chew on that for a minute. This bizarre find was made in the remote region of Qinghai, China. Nestled in the Kunlun Mountains, the pipes lead into a salty lake, while a neighboring lake remains freshwater. Surrounding the area are strangely shaped stones described as broken pillars, almost as if they were part of an ancient structure. Initial analysis at a local smeltery revealed some interesting finds. The pipes were made up of ferric oxide, silicon dioxide, and calcium oxide. That last part is key. The silicon dioxide and calcium oxide suggest long-term interaction between iron and the surrounding sandstone. This reinforces the claim that the pipes have been around for ages. Even more mysterious is that 8% of the material couldn't be identified. To make things even stranger, as if that were possible, some of the pipes are radioactive. Zhang Jiandong, a researcher at the China Earthquake Administration, admitted that there is indeed something mysterious about these pipes. As expected, theories about the Baigong pipes range from scientific explanations to out-of-this-world speculation. Zhang Jiandong proposed that iron-rich magma may have risen from deep inside the Earth and solidified in fissures, creating natural iron tubes. While that's a reasonable geological explanation, even he admitted that there is something about the pipes that just doesn't add up. Even the experts are stumped. That's when you know that things are getting interesting. Another theory suggests the pipes could be fossilized roots. Scientists analyzing the pipes found plant matter and what appeared to be tree rings. Under the right conditions, tree roots can undergo diagenesis, a process that transforms organic material into rock. These theories are totally reasonable, but some believe the Baigong pipes were once part of an advanced prehistoric structure, possibly evidence of technology far older than we can imagine. What do you think? The ancient sages who mastered technology. Long before the modern era, Indian sages mastered science and technology. I don't mean that they figured out simple math and how to make wheels go around. I'm talking about gravity, aeronautics, missiles, atomic theory, medicine, astronomy, and cosmology. Indian sages had access to advanced wisdom thousands of years ago, and no one knows why. Let me introduce you to a few of those early Einsteins, starting with the man who recognized gravity before Newton. Isaac Newton gets all the credit for discovering gravity, but Indian mathematician and astronomer Bhaskaracharya, who lived from 1114 to 1185 AD, described it centuries earlier in the Surya Siddhanta. Bhaskaracharya's calculations on planetary positions and eclipses were revolutionary, making him a true pioneer in astronomy and physics. He wrote that gravity is on all the planets, the moon, and in the constellations. The Wright brothers may have built the first modern airplane, but ancient texts suggest that Maharshi Bhardwaj described flying machines long before them. In the Vimana Shastra, he detailed how aircraft known as Vimana could travel between planets and even become invisible. Indian scriptures hint that ancient civilizations had far more advanced technology than we assume. There was a man named Acharya Kanad who described atoms, as in the microscopic particles that make up every single thing in the universe, 2,600 years ago. How could Acharya have known about quantum physics before microscopes even existed? Maybe he had a really, really good imagination. Or maybe ancient aliens? Then there was a guy named Kapila, born around 3000 BC. He developed the Sankhya philosophy, which explained the creation of the universe through energy transformation. He more or less came up with the Big Bang Theory 5,000 years ago. And last but not least, meet Vishwamitra, the sage who mastered missiles. Before he was a sage, Vishwamitra was a powerful warrior king. He is credited with discovering missile technology thousands of years ago. According to ancient texts, he taught Lord Rama how to use celestial weapons capable of massive destruction. The descriptions of these divine weapons sound eerily like modern missile systems with fire, smoke, and immense energy. They sound like the same weapons used to blow Mohenjo-Daro back into the Ice Age. Out of all the places in the world, India seems to have the strongest connection to ancient technologies. But are these tales coincidental works of fiction or true accounts of a history mainstream science would rather see buried? What do you think? Sumerian inventions that changed the world. Ancient Sumer was the original Silicon Valley. Mass production, Tupperware, spreadsheets, hydraulic engineering, the first wheeled vehicle, the Sumerians did it all. The late historian Samuel Noah Kramer once put it best by saying the people of Sumer had an unusual flair for technological invention. Nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers of modern-day Iraq, the Sumerians led the groundwork for human civilization as we know it. But they did it in such a way that defies imagination. The Sumerians lived in a harsh landscape with almost no natural resources. According to Philip Jones, associate curator at the Penn Museum in Philadelphia, they had few trees and almost no stone or metal. And so they had to use what was available: clay, the Play-Doh of the ancient world, and they used it for everything from pottery to writing tablets. Let's start out easy with the turning wheel. This simple invention allowed Sumerians to mass-produce clay containers. The innovation meant they could crank out thousands of storage jars a day, which was perfect for rationing food and drink. It was the first industrial revolution with large-scale production. Living near two major rivers sounds great, until they flood and wash away your crops. The Sumerians figured out how to control and channel water, designing complex irrigation systems complete with dams and gates. Using reeds, mud, and palm trunks, like some desert island survival game, they created early plumbing that made farming way more efficient. Basically, they were the MacGyvers of the ancient world. I'd love to say the Sumerians invented the wheel, but they were a little late to that one. What they did invent was the two-wheeled chariot, the world's first vehicle. It was pulled by donkeys and used in everything from ceremonies to warfare. The enemies of Sumer had no defense against chariots. None of these inventions are very space age, I know, but they are real. like the textile mills that the Sumerians invented, also known as the world's first sweatshops. The Sumerians took textile production from a small-scale craft to full-blown industry. They turned their temples into weaving hubs, where workers, most of them women, produced fabrics at an industrial scale. When they weren't busy turning humans into working machines, the Sumerians were creating math. Have you ever wondered why we measure time in units of 60? It's all thanks to the Sumerians. They developed a formal numbering system based on 60, which we still use today for clocks and angles. Their early calculations, marked on clay tablets, paved the way for later civilizations to develop geometry, algebra, and astronomy. Where did the Sumerians get all these ideas? The Antikythera mechanism. It's finally happened. Scientists, after 100 years, finally know how the Antikythera mechanism really works. They've unlocked the astonishing secrets of the world's oldest computer. People have been amazed by this thing for a long time, but knowing how it functions makes it even more impressive. In 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers made an unexpected and world-changing discovery off the coast of Antikythera, a small island in the Aegean Sea. Among the treasures they retrieved from an ancient shipwreck, gold coins, pottery, statues, was a mysterious lump of bronze and wood. Initially dismissed as debris, it took 2 years before archaeologist Valerios Stais noticed something extraordinary. Embedded within the corroded mass was a gear. Little did he know this humble discovery would turn out to be one of the greatest technological marvels of the ancient world. The lump of bronze was the Antikythera mechanism, a device so advanced that scientists would later refer to it as the world's first computer. It wasn't until the 1950s that serious research began on the strange artifact, led by science historian Derek Price and nuclear physicist Charalambos Karakalos. Using X-ray and gamma-ray imaging, they uncovered an intricate system of interlocking gears designed with unfathomable precision. The Antikythera mechanism was capable of predicting the positions of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, along with the Sun and the Moon. It could also forecast solar and lunar eclipses, and even displayed a black and white rotating stone to indicate lunar phases. Can your smartwatch do all that? This was a breathtaking achievement for a device that dates to between 205 and 100 BC. But how did it work? Reconstructing the mechanism has been a scientific puzzle for over a century, leading to multiple theories and models. The first breakthrough came from historian Michael T. Wright, who not only proposed a detailed design, but also built a fully functional replica. His work showed that the device likely had at least 37 gears, each hand-cut to track celestial movements with astonishing accuracy. 37 gears, and I can barely assemble IKEA furniture. In 2012, researchers Tony Freeth and Alexander Jones presented their own model, arguing that the device was even more complex than previously imagined. They described it as a machine built to calculate celestial phenomena using sophisticated astronomical theories. The implication is that the Greeks were even smarter than historians thought. For centuries, everyone believed that such advanced mechanical engineering didn't exist until the Renaissance. The Antikythera mechanism completely shattered that notion. The Greeks had mechanical computers. Boom! Mic drop. New research has also revealed that it wasn't a one-of-a-kind invention. Multiple copies may have existed, most likely built by skilled craftsmen on the island of Rhodes. The device represents a lost technological legacy. It hints at an advanced knowledge base that could have spurred earlier breakthroughs in engineering had it not been forgotten. Basically, the Antikythera mechanism almost pushed ancient Greece into the modern world of science. But something happened. Its technology was forgotten, and scientific progress halted. Nobody really knows why, but for some reason, we all have to start over from practically the beginning.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed. Sarcophagus in an olive grove. For thousands of years, the story of the Trojan War was believed to be mostly myth, since much of it was written by Homer, who was a writer and a poet and liked to embellish things. Ancient historians questioned the account of the siege of Troy and how much of the epic story of love and war is actually real. Scenes from the battle have been found on artwork all over the ancient world, and even though the lost city itself was found in the 19th century, the details remain murky. In 2015 and 2016, archaeologists uncovered a marble sarcophagus dating back to the 2nd century BC. Taken from a necropolis known as the City of the Dead, located in northwestern Turkey, the place is constantly monitored by police to prevent thieves from stealing precious artifacts. A nearby olive grove has become the center of a lawsuit since it is an archaeological site, and there were rumors that illegal excavations had found something very interesting. Whoever found the sarcophagi removed them and took them to a museum. Now there is a fight as to who owns the artifacts, who has to pay for excavations, all kinds of problems, and now the woman that owns the olive grove has a major headache to deal with. While all of this is going on, the sarcophagi are now safe and sound, and historians examining them at the Iznik Archaeological Museum found that they had small statues depicting the warrior Achilles and the Greek king Agamemnon, as well as sculptures representing the spring, summer, and autumn seasons. The sarcophagi tell the story of the Trojan War. One has a relief of Eros with a lotus flower, and it's believed it was used for the burial of a queen. It is the only one of its kind ever found. The oldest home in history. In a cave in South Africa, archaeologists say they have found the earliest human home in history. Located in Vanderberg Cave in the Kalahari Desert, evidence shows that early humans were using the cave as a home over 2 million years ago. Modern humans didn't even exist that long ago, but our early ancestors found caves to be great homes. Researchers from the University of Toronto tested the cave sediments and found evidence of fire. Not only were early humans living in the cave that long ago, they were also making stone tools. But here's the really mysterious part. Archaeologists have never found a single scrap of human remains, meaning no bones, no teeth, and no kind of biological evidence to suggest that humans have ever lived inside the cave. So, how do researchers know that the place was occupied by humans if their bodies have never been found? The earliest evidence of humans using fire was found very deep inside the cave. Researchers found burned animal bones and the ashy remains of plants, suggesting the humans in this cave were the first to control fire for means of cooking. They also found traces of basalt sediment, something produced when a retreating glacier grinds against bedrock. They say the sediment probably got tracked into the cave by the humans living inside it. Of course, it's important to note that when I say humans, I don't mean like us. These were not humans as we know them, but our very, very ancient relatives. But definitely not apes, because they were able to make fire and use it in an organized way. These are the missing links that separate us humans from the great apes. The Devil's Corkscrews. The Devil's Corkscrews have had scientists baffled for years. Tall, strange structures were found across Nebraska and parts of Wyoming and the northwestern Badlands in the 20th century. Each object is a strange spiral or a type of helix that extends roughly 7 feet down into the earth. Then, at the deepest part of the spiral, there is a tunnel which extends sideways at an angle. But what are they? Found by geologists, they are actually fossils dating back between 20 and 23 million years during the Miocene. The Devil's Corkscrews were first discovered by paleontologist Erwin H. Barber. He described them as being magnificent and boasting perfect symmetry with organization beyond comprehension. He initially thought the fossils were the remains of massive freshwater sponges. Or maybe they were once plants, with the fossilized helix structure being a system of roots. It wasn't until later that another paleontologist named Edward Drinker Cope said the interpretation was wrong, and that the helix spirals were probably the cast of burrows of an extinct rodent. Barber said that if this is in truth the work of a gopher, then it must stand as a lasting monument to the genius of that creature. In the end, it turned out that these bizarre subterranean homes belonged to ancient beavers. An extinct beaver species had its teeth matched perfectly with markings found inside the fossilized burrows. It is an incredible feat of engineering made by an animal that is so advanced it helps retain moisture and control the temperature. Not bad, huh? The Dark Watcher. Visitors to California have discovered something extremely disturbing. There are beings known as Dark Watchers apparently watching Californians from the high peaks of the Santa Lucia Mountains. These figures typically appear at twilight. They are extremely tall, cloaked in strange clothing, and undoubtedly eerie. Some claim the Dark Watchers are 10 feet tall and wear creepy hats and capes. If you spot them, they will stare at you and then disappear. And even though there were some bizarre sightings recently, the Dark Watchers were originally discovered over 300 years ago when the Spanish arrived in the 1700s. The Spanish actually called these apparitions Los Vigilantes Oscuros, or the Dark Watchers, or Night Watchmen in English. And according to legend, when settlers began arriving in the region, they too discovered they were being watched by mysterious beings from the tops of the mountains. One famous observer who felt the presence of the Watchers was the American author John Steinbeck. Remember Grapes of Wrath and all that we had to read in high school? In his 1938 short story Flight, a character sees a black figure leering down at him from a nearby ridgetop. No one knew who the Watchers were, nor where they lived, but it was better to ignore them and never to show interest in them. But just what are the Dark Watchers? One of the most popular theories is that the beings are actually just hallucinations, the exact type of hallucination that a person experiences when they see a dragon in a cloud or a face on the moon. Some claim there are no Watchers at all, but simply shadows being interpreted as giant monsters come dusk. Still, this has not stopped hikers visiting the Santa Lucia Mountains from reporting strange floating beings high up on the peaks. Could they really just be hallucinations? Or is there something greater out there still to discover? Mummified puppy snacks. Researchers were shocked to discover well-preserved animal samples inside of an ancient puppy. Scientists actually found rhino remains, indicating that during the Ice Age, ancient dogs were somehow hunting giant woolly rhinoceroses. The discovery was announced in the journal Current Biology. The Ice Age puppy was found in the permafrost in Siberia and is almost perfectly preserved. Dating back to 18,000 years ago, they have named him Dogor, which is a Yakutian word for friend. So far, his puppy DNA is neither dog nor wolf, so he is most likely an ancestor to both. Scientists believe that the puppy munched on the woolly rhinoceros, then fell into a snowy crevice and was buried by the snow, thus never being able to fully digest its snack. But what does all this information mean? Well, what scientists have been able to extrapolate from the information is that Ice Age dogs probably worked together in large scavenging packs, kind of like wolves, hunting in such large numbers that they were able to take down massive game like woolly rhinos. Ancient Church and the Last Supper. Archaeologists working in Jerusalem have discovered the remains of an ancient, long-lost Byzantine church, as well as the foundations of an old Jewish ritual bath dating back 2,000 years. While this is already significant, it was found not far from an area called Gethsemane, believed to have been the site of the Last Supper. The Church of the Agony was allegedly built on the very spot where Judas betrayed Jesus by giving him a kiss and then handing him over to the Roman soldiers. The church is decorated in very fine carvings and Greek inscriptions alluding to the sacrifice of Jesus. The Jewish bath was found during a construction project, and while there are many to be found, it is the only one in this area. It was likely used for the nearby oil and wine production workers to purify themselves 2,000 years ago, just how it was mentioned in the Gospels. According to archaeologist Ken Dark, who recently uncovered what he believes to be the childhood home of Jesus Christ in Nazareth, the existence of the bath in this place is significant. It could hold clues to the exact location where the Last Supper was held, but the physical site of the Last Supper has yet to be unearthed. The millipede swarm. In Japan, there is a disturbing phenomenon in which horrifying swarms of millipedes get together in such massive clusters that they are able to disrupt the entire country's train network. Apparently, this has been going on for quite some time, and a new study has revealed that the clusters of millipedes actually emerge every 8 years to wreak havoc on Japan. Scientists have now learned that the millipedes have an 8-year life cycle, which makes them the only other periodical animal next to cicadas, meaning the only other animal that breeds in cycles separated by many years. Researchers were able to make their findings after studying broods of these slimy freaks for 50 years. Ecologist Keiko Nijima has been gathering data on millipedes since the 1970s, although there have been reports of massive swarms of them blocking trains that date back to the 1920s. If you're wondering just how problematic a swarm of millipedes can really be, these clusters can stretch out to be over 600 feet in length. Even though each millipede is only around an inch long, they put all their bodies together to create the largest and most disgusting mass of creepy crawlies in the entire world. But what's really fascinating is that they only live for a short time. The female will crawl no more than 200 feet to copulate and lay her eggs and then die. And 8 years later, those eggs hatch and do the same thing. Lamashtu plaque. Lamashtu was a demon of Mesopotamian mythology and the daughter of the sky god Anu. She menaced women during childbirth and kidnapped their babies while they were breastfeeding. In addition to gnawing on children's bones and sucking their blood, Lamashtu committed numerous other misdeeds, including eating men, interrupting people's sleep, destroying nature, infesting freshwater bodies such as rivers and lakes, and inflicting disease. She's often depicted as having a hairy body, the head of a lioness, and a donkey's teeth and ears, as well as long fingers and fingernails, and bird feet with sharp talons. Images of Lamashtu typically show her atop a donkey, nursing a pig and dog, and with snakes in her hands. So how are you supposed to defend yourself from this monster? This plaque, housed at the Louvre in Paris, was created sometime during the 2nd or 1st millennium BC. It was intended to be hung over someone's bed and designed to protect them against Lamashtu's evil behavior. The plaque's reverse side features Lamashtu's husband and rival Pazuzu, the bearer of storms and drought. He has a man's body, the head of a lion or a dog, eagle's talons, 2 pairs of wings, and a scorpion's tail. As the demon of the southwest wind, Pazuzu was blamed for bringing drought during dry seasons and locusts and storms during rainy seasons. Ironically, despite his sinister qualities, Pazuzu was occasionally invoked for protection from evil. He was known for guarding pregnant women and their children from Lamashtu, which perhaps explains why his likeness is on the reverse side of this Lamashtu tablet, where he is shown overlooking Lamashtu in a protective manner. Roman chariot. Earlier this year, archaeologists announced the discovery of an exceptionally well-preserved ceremonial chariot near a villa outside Pompeii that, like the rest of the surrounding area, was completely buried in ash when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. This place nearby, called Civita Juliana, is getting constantly looted since most of the security goes to Pompeii. Looters have actually built a 250-foot network of tunnels already to be able to steal artifacts underground with nobody noticing. The tunnel just missed this cart. Made from iron, bronze, and tin, the chariot is adorned with depictions of nymphs, satyrs, and cupids. The chariot revealed the well-preserved remains of 3 horses, including one that was still saddled and harnessed. Smithsonian Magazine reports that another major find made at Civita Juliana came to light last November, when researchers discovered the remains of a wealthy man of 30 or 40 and a younger enslaved man, both eerily frozen in their final moments. While vehicles that were used for practical purposes have been discovered nearby, this is the first ceremonial chariot archaeologists have found. Archaeologist at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Eric Poehler, said he was astounded. He said many of the vehicles he studies are wagons, like a standard station wagon today to take your kids to soccer practice. But this was like a Lamborghini. It would have been used for community festivals such as parades and processions, Pompeii Archaeological Site Director Massimo Ossana told Reuters. Described by Italy's Culture Ministry as an unprecedented find, the discovery advances our understanding of the ancient world. Excavations at Pompeii are still ongoing, despite being rediscovered long ago during the 16th century. Roughly 2/3 of the 165-acre site have been unearthed, meaning more fascinating discoveries are yet to be found. The Great Dismal Swamp. The Great Dismal Swamp is located in southeastern Virginia, and it's a small portion of what was once a sprawling wetland that stretched across at least 1 million acres of coastal plains. There are only about 120,000 acres left of the Great Dismal Swamp, and nowadays it's used as a wildlife refuge. It's one of the last remaining intact wild areas on the Atlantic coast. But here's the thing. It has a long history going back from the Native Americans all the way to the Civil War. Recent archaeological discoveries have been shedding light on what the Great Dismal Swamp was used for during the days of slavery. Many runaway slaves arrived in the Great Dismal Swamp, where some Native American people were still living in the 17th century. Because the runaway slaves would often arrive with nothing but the clothes on their back, they learned how to hunt and fish and live off the land. Imagine having to survive in the swamp. I don't think I could make it. The mosquitoes alone must have been horrible. Plus, trying to light a fire in the damp, yikes. Some of the most recent excavations from the Great Dismal Swamp have revealed stone tools, fragments of glass, pieces of flint, and other evidence pointing to the people living in the Great Dismal Swamp during the 1800s as basically living in an isolated Stone Age culture. What's really fascinating is that the people who lived in the swamp have been completely ignored by history. Their lives were never really recorded in great detail, and because the swamplands are so hard to excavate, it's almost impossible to discover much about their lives. All archaeological evidence has been in the form of rock tools and bits of stone. But hopefully, archaeologists will keep at it and uncover even more evidence of how these people were able to survive against all odds. Thanks for watching! Which of these discoveries shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button and come back soon for another video. See you later!